hello, 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 hello. Good morning.
Hey,
Hi,
how's
everyone. Good
everyone
morning.
doing? Let me see. I'm not sure if I can hear Kay in my headset. Everybody, good morning. Welcome to the DNP Unlocked. And today we are on our episode 14, 15, 16, 17. We are going to talk about reporting immigration fraud today. I have to count it because I lost track of the number. We're going to wait for Kate to set up her
Good,
microphone.
good morning. Can you
Can you
hear
guys
me,
hear me
Paul?
as well? Am I loud and clear? Let me see. Let me see.
I can hear you, Paul. Can
All
you
right.
guys hear me?
Okay. All righty. So there you go. All right. Can you guys use the comment section if you guys can hear us clearly?
Good
All
morning.
right.
Good
So
morning.
thank you
Good evening,
everyone for
everyone.
joining us again. We are in episode 17 of the DNP Unlocked Disruptive Nurse Perspective and Immigrant Talk Show. And I have with me Kay. I'm not sure if I can
Hello.
hear Kay today.
Hello,
Uh,
hello. Can anybody hear me?
but our co-host Anna will not be able to be with us today because of a medical issue. So Anna, I hope you are doing well. Please
Okay,
give us
I'm
a
trying to
comment
fix
if you
this.
guys can hear us. One second.
Can you hear me, guys? Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening to everyone. Any can you hear me? I can hear Paul. Paul, you cannot hear me?
1 second. Yep. Okay, I don't think I can hear you. So
Ah,
either me has the issue
okay.
or
Let's
one
try
second. I'm
this
not sure
again.
if I can hear anything.
Hi, hi,
But
hi, hi,
can
hi.
anyone hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know if you guys
Uh
can hear me. Are the
I
moderators
don't
hearing
know if
me?
I can.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I think they gave me a feedback that yes, they can hear me. Okay.
Oh, there.
Oh, you can hear
Okay.
both of us. I couldn't hear Kay, so I'm not sure what's wrong
Yeah.
with my audio. Uh, Let me see.
So good, good. Paul cannot hear me. Good. I can just
All right.
trash talk Paul the
The
whole
moderator
day.
said he can hear both of us, but I
No,
can't hear
no.
Kay.
Paul is the
Okay,
Paul. Paul is the
let me
most
see if I can
handsome
refresh my
guy ever.
connection. Okay,
Yes, he's
so
not hearing me.
would you like to take over for a bit? Let me just.
I
I don't know what's going
yeah.
on with my setup right now.
Yay! He
Okay,
cannot
I'll be
hear me.
right
I
back.
can
I'll be right
trash
back.
talk. I can talk a lot of things about him. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone from different parts of the world. My name is Kay. I am your co-host with Paul, Dr. Paul Biluan, and we'll be sharing more information about this issue on trafficking of nurses. We are not really familiar with this because before we were not familiar of this because majority of the nurses, I would say more than 30%, I said 70%, 80% of the nurses in the United States work in acute setting, acute hospital setting. And there is a portion there, which is like about 25% to 30% who works on outside acute care setting, where a lot of problems arise because most of these times these nurses are alone. We're talking about home care, visiting, traveling, what else in long-term care. So there's couple of complaints that have been happening not only this year but actually throughout for many years now. It's been more than a decade when that Sentosa lawsuit went into place and this nurses won for human trafficking. So there are also cases of human trafficking that was won by New York nurses. So this is not really new in the field, and we want to make sure that we equip a lot of nurses that will be coming to the United States with their information on how to spot it if you are a victim of it and what you should be doing as a professional. You work hard for this license, you work hard for your American dream to come to the United States, and all of a sudden, you are a victim now of, forced labor. So most of the time, we thought that this kind of labor practices might be okay because it is happening in our countries. Back where we came from, this might be happening, this kind of situation or behavior. of abuses, but then we don't report it because this is quite normal to see. But in the United States, we have a lot of coverage and laws to protect our foreign workforce, especially healthcare professionals in the United States. And we should know when to report or what to do in case you feel like this is not right. We always trust our gut instincts as nurses that if it doesn't seem right, maybe it's time to ask someone who might be able to direct us with the right answer. Okay, so for disclosure, me, Paul, and Anna, who's not here right now, we are not your lawyers, and this should not be taken as formal legal advice. We are here to give you supplemental information based from the resources that are publicly available for you to use. Any legal advice should be directly addressed to any legal advice pertaining to your situation should be addressed directly to our labor lawyers. Okay, we are not here to give you legal advice. These are all general information that is applicable that you can see on the public information on the website of the US government. Is Paul ready and available?
I don't know. Every show, my setup fails. I would do sound check before the show. It would work, and then it would not work. So I don't know. But thank you, Kay.
Can you hear me well now, Paul?
I do very clearly. Thanks for the opening spiel.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Now I cannot trash talk you anymore because you can hear me.
It's recorded. Anyway, but thank you everyone. Welcome to episode 17, reporting immigration fraud. In the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about immigration, Kay, and our last two shows were packed with information. We did 2 hours of show each, right?
It was too much because, unfortunately, this is really happening to our
Hmm.
colleagues that are, foreign educated nurses. Not only actually foreign educated nurses, it's happening a lot to new nurses in the America as well. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, there was no job for our human traffickers because the sales or the trade was shut down. But they were able to see the potential in using the staffing model, international staffing recruitment. And these people jump into staffing without understanding what healthcare and ethical healthcare recruitment is. So we are here to not catch these people, but we are here to equip the nurses with the right knowledge. And the 2 hours is not enough because with all the cases that we
Right,
have, now cases that we have as we're not lawyers, but the cases that are being presented to us,
right.
and then we refer them to the proper people to help them.
Which is the most
Okay.
important thing. And
Yeah.
again, like what Kay said earlier, which I thankfully caught because my speakers are now working,
Yeah.
and we have matching speakers, by the way. We are not lawyers. We are not professionals, experts for immigration law, labor laws,
No.
safety violation laws, EEOC laws. But what we are saying is we are nurses and look out after our immigrant nurses, which,
Mm.
because of our condition, it puts us in a vulnerable position that we are at risk for fraud, manipulation, violence, and we're going to talk about that in this show today. And for those who are watching us, please join us in the comments section. We are streaming this live in my Facebook channel, LinkedIn, YouTube. Case also streaming this live in our Facebook channel and our LinkedIn. So if you can kindly join us in the comment section, tell us where you guys are coming from. Thank you, Ikling, for commenting because earlier I could not hear anyone and he was the first one who mentioned that he could, in fact, hear us both. Marvin is here. My goodness, Marvin. What are you doing
Good
in
morning.
the other side of the stage? You should be coming over here joining us. Marvin is one of our dear friends. Me, Marvin, Anna, who is not with us here today, and Travel Nursing Hacker K. We are part of this Facebook group for my followers that do not know. It's called Lefora Filipino Nurses to US. So back in the years, we created a group. We're not the original founders. We were members. Eventually, we became administrators. We created this group as as a community resource for immigrant Filipino nurses coming to the US. But the group has blown up and has gotten really, really big. We now have more than 210,000 members. Me, Anna, Kay, Marvin, and along with our colleagues, are administrators of this group. So in this group, we advocate for nurses, and it's not only Filipino nurses in this group now. It's many immigrant nurses coming to the U.S. It's such a great resource. But that's how I met Kay and Anna and Marvin, and I have the pleasure to be working with them in that group. But that's why we have the DNP Unlocked, because we want to take it out of the group this time and open it up to the world, the conversations we were having there. But Marvin, please spend time with us in the future. And of course, Kay, Anna can't join us today. She's not feeling good. So, Anna, please feel
Yeah.
better. We know that you're watching
Yeah.
us.
Yes, feel better, please. We need you. We need you
Yes.
here. Yes, we need our beloved Anna. She's very hardworking. She's very dedicated to helping a lot of Filipino nurses. Not only
Mm-hmm.
that, a lot of foreign nurses and our colleagues in the traveling nurse community.
Right, right. And Kay, we have Karina watching us today from the Philippines. We have Loy Lamzon Laguyo watching us from Dubai, and Melski is watching us from Maryland. Wow, neighbors, Kay.
Hey, Melski, good morning. It's a nice and rainy day and cold outside. It's mixed.
Yeah,
It's
what's the
gray
weather like
outside.
there?
Yeah, it's grayish. I feel like in Seattle.
Oh
Plus
wow,
cold.
what's the
It's cold.
temperature?
I think right now it's 40s, I believe.
Yeah,
And it's like
same here.
rainy
40s.
40s. Yeah, and there's still pile of snows outside, so it's just like a mess.
Oh, thankfully it doesn't snow here. No, no thanks.
I love snow. I love snow when it just falls. But then when it starts being cleared up by the road and it's dirty and slushy like
Yeah,
a chocolate slush, I don't like it.
with dirt, right?
But yeah, but here, I like it here in this part of the Northeast coast because you get the snow, you get the fall, but it's not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of snow as compared to the northern part of the hemisphere.
Right,
Just
right,
enough to enjoy it by the kids, and then after you
right.
enjoy it one day, let's go back to our life.
Right. So the further you go up north, the more snow you get, right? Some of them are like as tall as their doors, but I don't know. We're not used to snow here in Texas. Very rarely. The northern parts of Texas
Yeah.
probably, but here in Houston not so much. We're used to floods.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are not used to driving in snow and the accidents there when it snows or
You remember?
the
Yeah,
temperature freezes. Oh my
yeah,
God. Yeah. The government
yeah.
is not ready for any of those, right? You guys
I
don't pile
know.
up
No.
salt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last freeze 2 weeks ago, they were already announcing it 1 week ahead of time. But of course, that is kind of like expected. As soon as the freeway started freezing, trucks and cars, multiple vehicular collisions again, and they have to close down the highways. But that's it. I mean, it's different per state, per city. And that's the beauty of USK. And that's why we started traveling too, because we can explore different states and cities getting paid well at the same time. But the US is so big. Like if you put it in a perspective, Texas alone is if you combine multiple countries in West Europe, Texas is still bigger. So
Yeah.
that's Texas alone. There's 50 states. Alaska is the biggest state, and there's so many places to go to. I've only been to 25 states. I still have 25 to go. So so many places to explore. You don't even have to get attached to one city right away, because who knows if there's a better opportunity 1,000 miles away to the east or to the west. You can just drive with your whole family, start a new life, a new job, and if you don't like it, go back to your old city. So many things to do, so many opportunities to explore.
Yep, that's what I love about America. You can get the temperature that you like. You can get the weather. I mean, you can get the people, you can get the food, you can get everything that you like. And I'm from New York City. This is, if you want to be oriented with your different cultures of the world, go to those melting pots, the city, the metropolitan. You know,
Oh
good
yeah.
for single people, good for people who likes to navigate and enjoy, or explore different cultures of the world, the melting
Yeah.
pots.
I
Yeah.
think you will really feel the America that we know from movies when you're outside US is in the big cities because the further you go out from the cities, the life is more laid back and chill. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's bad because I came to a point where I feel like I want to be more semi urban at this point. You know what I mean? I'm still inside the Houston city right now, but eventually I don't think I can thrive here at 45. You know, and it's not that far off already because the traffic is bad. You're just gonna get stressed all the time. But I mean, if you're young, if you're new in the US, it's fun to go to big cities. There's each city in the US has so much to offer, has different
Yeah.
stuff that you can integrate with, tour. I love touring, like I love skylines. Skylines here are pretty. Each big city has their own skyline. Of course, New York has the prettiest skyline. It's a whole island of skyline. So yep. So
Yeah.
go do it. Go enjoy it.
Yeah, but there's a pros and cons of big cities, and this is very important with the topic that we're going to discuss. When you go to big cities with different, with huge population comes with crime. Huge population
That's true.
increases with crime. You cannot say Miami is very dangerous compared to one of the suburb in Alabama. Well, because when the population goes up, crime goes up. It's not like
Right.
saying that, this place is just bad. No, it's not. It's because there's more population and the ratio is the one that you will have to look into. Again, more populated area, more crime. And when there's more crime, there are people who might want to take advantage of you as a foreign nurse, as a foreign
Right.
healthcare professional. That's where a lot of these people will come in. They will start, knowing people who can they refer and do things illegally under the table, in exchange for money. And they're gonna really exploit you because of your American dream. They know
Right.
that you want to come to these nice and big cities because you feel like you're
Right.
in America. And now they're gonna use that against you to take advantage of that. So we can start running things now, Paul, regarding this with forced labor, human
Right.
trafficking of Filipino nurses. Not a lot of people hears this or are seeing this because majority of the nurses in the United States are again in acute care setting. If
Right.
you are in acute care setting where there's a lot of eyes looking in the hospital, most likely this does not happen a lot. But it does not mean it doesn't happen. We have a lot of colleagues outside acute care, and we should really hear them out, because if we don't hear them out, the entire nursing professional will go down. We're not going to be seen as professionals anymore at one point.
That's
Otherwise,
right.
we're going to be commoditized. Nursing will
Right.
be commoditized, and we
And I
don't
think
want
it's
that.
already happening here in the US.
If we allow such exploitation happening to foreign nurses,
Hmm.
expect these foreign nurses eventually, after finishing their contracts, whatever they learn in that culture, they're going to bring it to acute care setting. And that's the time we're going to see some changes. Actually, we are correct, Paul, we are seeing this already because a
Hmm.
lot of foreign nurses were under, this kind of exploitive contracts that we did not know, and
Right. Right.
nurses did not know. And then when they transition to acute care setting, when there's more people seeing it, and they said that's not acceptable.
That
Why
is
are
right.
you
Yeah.
right? Why did you just pay $70,000 to your
Right.
previous employer?
All,
So
all for the American dream. It's not worth it.
exactly. So please, I call on, this is a call to a lot of leadership, especially in acute care setting, and nurses, professionals in acute care setting. If you see a foreign nurse coming to you with little bit questionable employment situation previously, or currently, please help them out. They need help, and we want to express that to everyone. When you see a foreign nurse with very questionable contract, please refer them to labor lawyers, Department of Labor, where we're going to talk to you where we should be reporting, right, Paul?
Right, right. And I remember UK been saying since we've been doing this show, and even then when I was inviting you to the shows, and even in your own show, um, you keep saying to treat this as a business. You really want your business to fail, right? with me, I also want to put it in the same way as depending on how you look at it, because disruptive nurse perspectives is talking about different perspectives. But think of it as a relationship as well. The minute you sign that contract is your commitment. Do you really want to be committed to a person, an entity that you already know is toxic, that you already know is treating these nurses
Mhm.
like this? One of the things that I do, like I said last week, I Google review their or I check the Google reviews or whatever reviews for their company. But I also want to see how they respond to people, right? We've been travel nursing, K, and we've talked to like more than hundreds of recruiters at one time. I always steer clear with people that are toxic to talk to. When I say toxic to talk to, unprofessional, rash behavior, unpredictable, talks to nurses. At the end of the day, people forget that nurses are professional and we're very transactional because we're taught that way. Sometimes it's misinterpreted when we talk straight to the point. How much is the rate per hour? Yeah, we're not money oriented, but we need money to pay for our bills, for our kids, for our immigration fees, stuff like that. But it's being transactional and they're taking it against us because we're in the healthcare industry and we're supposed to help people. Yes, but we also signed to be paid for, right? So, but I steer away from recruiters that I see talk to these nurses this way because it's like
Yeah.
signing my life away. Do I really want to be in a toxic relationship if I already see signs that this person, this recruiter, this agency treats nurses this way from previous, comments and reviews from other nurses who've been through the same? Do I really want to put myself in that position? And if I do want to put myself in that position, what would it take for me to really be convinced to be in that situation? Am I that desperate? Are there no other options? And let me tell you this, Kay, right? We've been seeing this pattern where the nurses without experiences that are trying to go to the US are the ones that are the most
Yes.
vulnerable at the bottom of the list of these recruiters. And they know that these nurses are desperate. They want to go to the US. They want to have American dream, right? If you are this nurse without experience in your own country where you're coming from, you are going to be surprised with how many people are going to reach out to you, lowball you, treat you like unprofessionally, and tell you there's no other way but to sign our contract because we're the only ones to give you the job. Do not put yourself in that position. Before we talked about negotiating power and all that, get experiences. When you're more experienced as a nurse, you have the ability to command your rate or ability to negotiate because you know what you can bring to the table. And of course, when you don't have experiences, they put you in senior nursing facility. For example, in a senior nursing facility, you can get 20 patients, and that's being lucky. We've heard reports of nurses getting 40 to 60 patients. This is senior nursing facility, probably one LVN or CNA with you. You take all those vitals, you give all those meds. They're not as acute as ER or ICU or OR. There's no requirement for regular monitoring. But guys, let me tell you how many of these senior nursing facility, long-term care facilities that go to the ER for patients that have already died for hours and they didn't even know because they have so much workload. Do not put yourself in that situation because um, that's probably not the American dream that you wanted. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be stressed all the time at work because somebody could sue you. The money's not going to be worth it. You're going to be trapped in that contract because no one else would hire you because you don't have experience. And they can bully you. They can manipulate you. They can pay you very, very low. Do not be in this situation. The more desperate you are, the more you are at risk for fraud.
Yep, and when they say no experience needed, we'll take care of everything. We'll pay for review. We'll pay for your second review exam. If you failed the exam, we're still gonna pay you those exam, pay your those IELTS. If they're gonna say pay all, including your dependents to airfare and stuff. Those are very good offer if you have no money. Okay, if you have no money, but you're gonna have to take on the risk. What is the risk for this? It's a big reward, right? You get free everything, but then what are the risks for it? Majority of the time, if every single thing was given to you by that employer, or that they promised to you, that sponsoring employer, those can amount to close to $100,000. Okay,
Mhm.
so again, if ever you are accepting so many things from your employer, from the one sponsoring you, just because you have no money, please expect that you might be exploited here in the United States, because now they know if you break this contract, if you leave this horrible working condition, you will have to be subjected to $100,000. And I'm not
Fine.
kidding you. Yep, they're gonna tell you, or this is liquidated damage. Those
Right.
are the keywords that we've been
Future
repeating and repeating into our
future
previous.
earnings.
Yeah, future profit loss of the company. If you're
Wow.
signing a clause that says future profit loss of the company, I'm gonna tell you, a profit of the company can be $1 million.
Mhm.
Okay, so what I'm
Mhm.
saying, are you going to pay that portion of it, but still a lot of money? No, now you're putting yourself into jeopardy, your license at risk. A lot of nurses now are being accused of criminal charges. Criminal is different from civil. When you're
Right.
criminal, your malpractice insurance is not going to cover you.
Yeah.
Again, if it's a criminal, it's not going to cover you. And the possible sentence to that is jail. Imagine if
Right.
your plan is to bring your family over for your American dream,
And then you
everybody,
get jailed.
and then you go to jail.
Right.
So that is
And not
something
o-
you have to be very careful.
Yeah, and not only that, Kay, when you get a criminal charge, it opens up a whole Pandora's box. Okay, like the state boards of nursing will automatically cancel your license. They're federal, or they have the power to do that, because by being a criminal, automatically you're not a nurse that will provide safe care to the community. Remember, the goal of the state boards is to ensure that nurses will provide safe care to the community, to the public. So, in their defense, if you are a criminal, automatically you're not going to provide safe care for everyone. So, your license get canceled automatically. And then, if you're still in immigrant status, guess what? You are not allowed to what's this, have a felony of any degree. One day when you get to citizenship and you have a felony, you got to defend that you
Mm,
are entitled to citizenship. Hopefully that's just a minor,
yeah.
like, misdemeanor kind of stuff. But if it's like a criminal charge, your immigrant status will be taken right away. And unfortunately, these are things that people don't want to talk about because it's such a traumatic experience. But I've heard reports of immigrant nurses going into this situation, and it's a traumatic event for the
Yeah.
nurse and for their family, obviously. And that is what we're trying to prevent, why we're talking about these things in DNP Unlocked. We talk about things that people don't want to talk about because it's uncomfortable. It's easy to say, American dream. Kay has her own version of American dream. She's living the best life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anna has hers to mine too. We keep sharing that in social media to inspire people, so people would learn to dream and be persistent to achieve their dreams. But what about the other side? We want them to be aware of that as well. One of the things
Yeah.
that I've learned as a nurse over time, and I keep sharing this to my students as well, to people that I mentor, is situational awareness, which means be present at the moment and see what's going on around you. And that means you're aware of the good things happening, but also aware of the possibility of certain things going out of way, and what's your next step. It's like going one step ahead. Every time I do something, I want to be one step ahead, because if I'm just a little delayed or not caught up, then it can easily you know cascade into like an unexpected situation to where I won't have any options, right? So same thing with your immigration. Consider it as both good, but also there's bad possibilities to happen. So we want you guys to manage your expectations, especially if you're not here in the US. And even if you're here in the US, some people are already about to finish contracts. Some people are still tied up to their contracts. Some people already finished their contract, they're moving to one state to another, but now are tied up with a very, stressful contract, stressful job. And let me tell you this, yes, we get paid a lot here in the US.
Mhm.
Well, not a lot, because technically we still want higher pay, right, for what we do. But the stress that we encounter, the roles, the scope of
Yeah.
practice here in the U.S. is much more expanded compared to nursing in other countries, and that's based on my observation as an educator. But just be careful, be prepared, and know these things. Have a situational awareness of everything that you're doing, signing that contract, coming to the U.S., looking out for possibilities of things going as unexpected.
Yeah, so we have a recent case, Paul, that happened in Texas. So Texas, where you are from. So I don't
I
know
have so much to say about Texas.
if people have heard of this. Congresswoman Bernice Johnson. She
Hmm.
was a nurse. She pioneered a lot of laws to protect nurses. She pioneered a lot of laws or bills in pursuing the good working situation of the nurses in the United States. So I want to share my screen. Where is this one? Share screen, and okay, we'll share it quickly. Can you guys see what I'm sharing or not yet?
No, there you go.
Okay, so you can see here the title of this headline: Pioneering Congresswoman Died Terrible Death Due to Medical Neglect or Family. Okay, so I don't know the full story of this, but I know for a fact that she was left with so many, feces onto herself. She was trying to call for help. And I can clearly imagine her calling because I have worked in a nursing home and I was given more than 40 patients at one point in my life. And when I started calling for help, I said, we have a lot of patients that need changing. They're going to develop infection from it. So, because of understaffing, there was nobody to help at all. So, these are common things that happen in this kind of facilities, in rehab facilities. And it's more dangerous because she had post-op surgery in her back spine, right? So it probably have caused infection on her post-op
Right.
surgery side, and that caused her possibly of death. You know, but that's a story that I was reading on. One, why is it they're falling onto negligence? If this is a negligent situation, most likely they will go after the nurse, right,
Right.
Paul? There is no
Hmm.
question about this. They're gonna look into the nursing documents. They're gonna look at who took care of this nurse. I mean, who took care of her? Who are the nurses? And and you're gonna see yourself in the courtroom.
Hmm.
And what you're gonna say there is, I was given 40 patients, 50 patients. The next question they will ask is, when you were given that 40 to 50 patient, you cannot handle that. What did you do?
What did you
And
do? Yeah.
and then if you say I did nothing, I just took the assignment, that can fall onto you. But however, if you're in the situation, and you were given that a much of patient that you cannot handle by yourself, it's beyond the safe limit. What you should have done is you should have raised that issue directly to your supervisor before you even take those patients. You should have raised it up. I cannot handle this much patient. This is unsafe and putting my license to risk. This is unsafe for the patient. I need help. Can you give me extra staff to take care of this patient? If the answer is they have no staff, what are you going to do now? Are you just going to take it and put your license to risk, and you will never realize that the one that you're taking care of are billionaire, or a family of a billionaire? They can just sue you, right? If something happens, it's not a matter of is it going to happen. It's a matter of time. If you keep
Right.
on taking this a lot of patient, it's not a question, is it going to happen to me? No. The question
Right.
is, when will it happen to you? Because
Right.
something definitely will happen, and it's just a matter of time. And you will not be in the most comfortable situation that you will see yourself. That's why I always
Right.
tell them, you have to know if you're put in forced labor situation. Forced labor is you're being coerced to take job that is, number one, very unsafe. Okay. Number two, that somebody's threatening you. If you don't take this assignment, you're under contract. We're gonna report you to USCIS, right?
Right.
We're gonna file you breach of contract. So those are the examples that we spoke the previous weeks about forced labor. And if you are in this situation, No, this is what we're going to talk about. What you can do. What are you supposed to do to avoid yourself being in a negligent situation or being in this courtroom and being liable for all this? Because you, as a nurse who's coming here in the United States, should know what is safe and not safe. We talk about this. We studied about this in an NCLEX, right?
Right, right.
And
That's
so we,
jurisprudence. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
It's
And
doing the right thing. Do not
it,
harm, right?
it's horrifying, Kay, because if you think about it, even if you get through this case, I don't think there would be a way out of this case. This will end in either a settlement or somebody's gonna get jailed, and that's most probably the nurse, because first of all, we have the most contact with the patient. That's theoretical, and that's still what they believe in, right? They're gonna get you accountable for it. In short, if you get through this case will follow you for the rest of your nursing career, because every time you work there's a background check. Every time you apply for a new nursing board, have you been sued? Did you have a deposition in the past? Have you been indicted?
Yeah.
Was there a case ever? If yes, put your supporting documents, and then the board's gonna say, you know what, I don't think you're safe to practice in this state. So that effectively affects your future as well, your future career. And of course, what did you end up coming here for the US if you are not going to be able to practice as a nurse, right? And imagine if this is happening to regular American nurses. What more if you're an immigrant and you don't know better because you don't know your rights? You were taught to be they think that American nurses are subdued to where if they give us 90 patients, like what you said in the comments, that we're going to be okay. The thing is, we have to stop that mentality. We have to start speaking up day one. All right. If this is your first day and you're already put in a situation where you're supposed to orient, but they're making you give these medications on day one, maybe it's time to speak up. I thought I'm still in orientation. Why are you asking me to push meds to titrate these medications? Yes, I can do that, but I don't know the policies yet in this hospital. All right. Especially if you're a new migrant. I was able to talk to. There was an interview done to me by one of the agencies. They talked to me about advocacy for nurses. One of the things I advocate is orientation. I had a pleasurable experience migrating here to the US. Everything worked out to my advantage. I had 3 months orientation to the ER. I don't think I needed it, but that was a good time for me to get accustomed to the things, how things are done here in the US, and not only that, for me to revisit all the policies to make sure I'm adhering to the policies. If they're making you work on day one, then how do you know you're doing it by policy? Because at the end of the day, they're going to hold you accountable by policy. So stuff like that, if this happens to regular American nurses or local American nurses, this will definitely happen, and probably worse with immigrant nurses, because you're more vulnerable, right? You're in a position where they hold more power over you. They can threaten you, and that's what we talked about in previous shows, right? Like, immigration fraud is a real thing, right? They tell nurses, we're going to hold your green card, we're going to hold your passport,
Yes.
you're going to stay in this
Yes.
house, you do not have the ability to move anywhere. If we tell you that we have a facility 45 miles down the highway and we want you to go there today, you're going to go there today. Oh, you know what? It's already 5 p.m. You still have 2 hours, but we want you back in the main facility 45 miles down the road. You're going to go there today as well. But guys, this happens in our regular life as nurses here in the States. We keep advocating for ourselves. But what about our immigrants? It's their first week,
Yeah.
it's their first month. They don't
Yeah.
know how to speak up for themselves. They're scared. I'm new. I cannot talk. I
Yeah.
cannot say something.
Yeah.
No, it's time to speak up day one. We have to let these people know that,
Yeah.
hey, this is abuse.
Yeah. Yes, so the contracts of a majority of our, I mean, all of actually the contracts of foreign nurses coming to the United States clearly states in there that your employer has to follow federal, state laws, and local laws and labor laws. Okay, so if they are not following and subjecting you to this, dangerous situation, what you want to really do is, you're gonna have to talk to a labor lawyer at least. Okay, labor lawyer who's going to be looking in your case. So the first thing we have to look is, where do we report immigration frauds or scam? Okay, so I have a slide in here, Paul. I don't know if you have your slide.
Yeah, I have my slide too. But
Okay,
go ahead.
okay,
Let
go
me
ahead.
see what your slide
Okay.
says, and I'm gonna share
I,
my slide later. But
okay, cool. All right.
before
So,
we go there, let's just go through comments real quick, okay? Sorry about
okay,
that.
sure.
So
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead
Lori
with the
is
comment.
watching from Dubai, and Raymond told us, "Kay, thank you for this show, for showing us the reality and equipping us before we go there to the U.S." And who is this? Are you a model of JobStreet before? I am not, but if they made me a model, they should pay me back and interest. Good day to everyone. What is your opinion of New York weather? Is it same like UK? Kay, you've lived in New York. I didn't, so
Yeah.
you can answer this.
UK. I've never been to UK, but I know it's pretty much almost the same. Is I
Mm-hmm,
think UK has more rain, as far as
mm-hmm,
I know. It always rains there.
mm-hmm.
New York, I think it's in here in the United States. The most rain is coming from the state of Washington State. That
Right, right.
Seattle,
Gloomy,
they
gloomy.
gloomy. They call it a gloomy city.
Yeah.
Seattle, because it's always. I mean, I've been to Seattle, and yes, it was raining when I went there. I went west of Seattle, tri-state city. That's a little bit more dry because they're having like issues of desert storm there. The tri city Washington, yeah, tri city Washington area. Visited a friend there. But Seattle is like probably I would say close to UK in the terms of the rainy, but the snow is similar to New York snow.
Yeah. And then, well, Michelle, I've met this nurse from London. Hi, Michelle. I interviewed her. She's in my social media. So, hi. Yeah, I probably need to go back to London. And we have here, same person, Dionis said, is there any
Yeah.
church community we can join in New York to help us pastorally?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yep. I think
Yeah.
there's plenty of churches in New York and all different religions as well. And
Oh
Kim
yeah,
said,
absolutely.
Kim said, big fan. And of course, we have Paolo as well joining us.
Hi,
And
Paulo. He's my neighbor.
oh, is he? Hello,
Yeah.
Paolo. And Princess is one of the nurses I've met. She's now here in US. She was from UK. She went from um, Saudi to UK to US. So she brings a lot of experience from different countries. And we have Sherry here. Hi, Sherry. And beside, but said to go back to London or something. But I love London. I have so many friends in there. But yeah, probably visit again. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. And if you guys have time, please review the shows we did last week. We talked about immigration fraud. We defined what fraud was. We gave you case studies that were similar to real life scenarios that happen. And today we're going to talk to you guys about how to report those cases. So I'll give the stage back to Kay.
All right, Paul. I think you might have to put your slide on because I don't have the
Okay.
Medicare reporting one.
On it. Okay, hold on. I think Siri
Yeah.
is acting up here in front. Say that again. You want me to put my slide on?
Yes, put your slide on because I don't have the Medicare one, but that would be very
Yep.
helpful for everyone to see because
Okay.
that's the most
But
important thing.
yep. So I just made a very quick summary of who's who and where to report depending on what case the nurse is having situations. Of course, it is still best to consult a lawyer, an expert. We are not lawyers. We probably could steer you, guide you to the right resource, right spot. But let's show my slide right here. So, for example, if there's an immigration fraud, there's a violation. For example, examples of immigration fraud is they're trying to put you on a different visa category. For example, you're a nurse, but they're putting you on a different visa category. They're telling you we're going to apply for an agricultural visa category for you because that's faster. You know what I mean? Or what if they say, come here as a tourist, we're going to apply you for student visa and then working visa and then immigrant visa. That's an immigration fraud. That's a scam. Or offering you a fake job offer. And maybe the job offer was correct, but there was a bait and switch last minute. We talked about this last week, where last minute before you go here to the US, they're like,
Yeah.
no, this is the new contract. I know we told you we're going to pay you 50 an hour, but now you're going to get paid 30 an hour in a rural town with 200 people somewhere in Alaska. In order to get there, you have to be choppered around every day. So, no, that's immigration fraud because that's not what you filed and that's not what we told the consul. So, those are immigration fraud. Report to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. This is a federal government agency. So,
Yeah.
they will surely want to be interested to know about that because that's also a form of human trafficking depending on the categories. We talked about it last time. The other one is Department of Labor. Every state has their own Department of Labor. I would start there. For example, in with me, I'm from Texas. I type Texas Department of Labor. So general labor law violations. Example of labor law violations is, scope
Yeah.
of practice issues. You can also report that to the boards of nursing, and probably long hours of work. Right, you're only supposed to work 40 hours in the state of Texas. I think in New York, full time is 37 hours, right?
Yeah, we have like 36. We have some are like 37. I totally
Yeah,
forgot what's the legal, but this is something that you will have because it's always
yeah.
changing. The laws are
It's a,
changing,
yeah,
but
that is correct.
so this is something that you will have to speak with the U.S. Department of
Yeah,
Labor if you have questions regarding if you feel like you're being mandatory or mandated to
yeah.
do overtime against
Yes,
your will.
I
Okay, so
was
you
gonna
have
say
to
that.
verify.
Yeah, no overtime. Mandatory overtimes are what's this? Optional. All right. I remember my
Yeah,
one of my managers before
but
was putting extra days with us, and I told her I thought overtime is mandatory. I mean, not mandatory. It's like, oh, it is mandatory. And then I printed the labor rules from the great state of Texas, and I was like, I think the great state of Texas would like to have a word with you. And he was
yeah,
very quick to change my schedule because they cannot force you to do that, right? Another thing is they fired you for no reason at all. Now, there's two
yeah,
sides of that, right? Because it could be at will, right?
yeah,
At will, which means they can fire you anytime, to be honest, right? But there might be some motive. If the motive is probably discriminatory or probably retaliation, that could still be a Department of Labor thing. So they would be very interested to know about that. Fair Labor Standards Act violations, wage and hour complaints. They ask you to come to the hospital to talk to you. You clock in, and your manager says, "We're not going to pay that because we
yeah.
just want to talk to you." Well, you asked me to go to work. So I go to work to talk to you. You don't talk to me on my free time, right? Or they ask you to come in, complete an education in the computer. You put that into your time, and they don't want to pay that. That's a wage and hour complaints. They didn't pay you on time. You're supposed to get paid this Friday, but you didn't get that pay, or their check bounce, or whatever reason they tell you. They're holding your wages, or especially for
Oh,
immigrants. They're gonna
Paul,
hold your
yes, happened
wages.
to
Yeah,
me. Happened to
yeah.
me. Yay.
Nope, nope. You can't do that. The feds want to get involved here. It's FLSA
Yeah,
violation.
yeah,
So also under Department of Labor. So your state would have their own Department of Labor. It's a quick Google search.
yeah,
They would want to get involved. Trust me. All right. The state
yeah,
and the feds would always want to get involved with this case. They'll always want to know about this because you know what? They're not only going to advocate for you, they can also ask the companies to pay fines, and fines is money for the state and feds that they can use for their projects. So trust me, they would want to hear from you. I encourage you, people. It's very easy nowadays, okay? Internet age. Click the link and type everything, and preserve documents, of course, your evidence, of course.
yeah.
You always have the burden of proof is yours because you're the one reporting. So yep, that's what we keep telling you guys, right? If they call you over the phone, do not pick up. If you pick up for whatever reason, email them back. I would just like to summarize what we talked about. Please acknowledge. Number one, I would work an extra hour for double the pay on blah, blah, blah. Number two, I will not be floated, blah, blah, blah. Number three, blah, blah, blah. Please acknowledge. All right. They have to acknowledge that. Why? That's a written evidence. Phone calls are not evidence. All right. I mean, that cannot be used as evidence in the court. So preserve all those evidence. All right. The state and feds would want to get involved. The next slide, please. I love this part. Guys, you see the roof trying to fall on you, or there's flood that they don't want to fix, or the hallway is too tight, the wheelchair cannot go through, or the hallway is too tight because there's too many beds and your bed cannot go through. Anything that you think you're at risk in rendering quality care puts you at risk for injuries is an OSHA violation. This is a federal government. Again, trust me, OSHA would want to go into that facility and be involved. They would love to do that, guys. Within 1 week, they'd be in your facility. You can be an anonymous tipster, or the other option is to report, and you can actually go with them while they're doing the survey. All right. So two ways. All right. Can be an anonymous tipster, but trust me, OSHA would love to hear from you of these violations, because that's a huge fine. If, especially with a healthcare facility, if they're not following code, right? If they're putting you at risk for injuries, you already know that too many people fell from the stairs and they didn't fix it. OSHA would love to have a word with them. So please, please get on that internet link and start typing your concerns. OSHA will be in contact with you and you can further discuss your options. All right. And this one, Kay had been talking about this for a long
Yeah.
time, and I love this part. EEOC. All right.
Yeah.
I hope they're not going to take this down, but this is a discrimination from working because of a certain condition, right? Now, when you sign your job as a nurse, it will tell you how much you should be able to lift, all right, before you sign that. When you sign that, then you're acknowledging it. Say, for example, they suddenly changed that to where, you know what, initially you only signed lifting at least 100 pounds. Now we want you to lift 300 pounds, right? And then they fire you because you don't want to do it. That might be a discrimination, right? But also certain cases where, for example, let's put a chronic communicable disease, hepatitis B, HIV. They cannot discriminate you and not hire you because of that, right? They cannot discriminate you or hire you because of a certain disability that will not hamper your ability to do your job. You can still be a nurse. You can still play the role, but you just have a little disability. They cannot discriminate you against that. They cannot discriminate you because of your color, because of your accent, because of your gender, because of your age. All right. If they discriminate you, they fired you, they don't want to give you the job, that's an EEOC violation. And the feds would love to hear about that as well. Put that in the link in Google and you can find where to report. And the last one is Medicare. If your employer is involved with fraud billing, all right, they're billing Medicare for services that you or your team did not provide. For example, the case is for this abdominal pain, but they're also billing the patient for stroke management, right? Or they were doing violations to where what are Medicare violations? But basically, it's billing abuse of Medicare resources. All right, they're asking you to sign a chart so they can submit it to Medicare for a thing that you did not actually do. So Medicare might want to get involved with that as well. All right. So put that link in, and Medicare has an anonymous reporting line. So please report if you experience this fraud. So it's not all immigration. The funny thing is, or not the funny thing, the fact is, when you go over here to the US and you start your job, the immigration may already be done with their role with you, because their role is to bring you here as an immigrant and they gave you the green card and they're done. But any violations after that may not fall under USCIS anymore. It might be labor, it might be the EEOC violation, it might be the FLSA or OSHA violations. So make sure that you are reporting to the appropriate department. If you're not sure, copy paste that complaint and send to all of them, and they'll tell you where to send that report or send that complaint. Okay.
Okay, so I've been adding in in the chat box as Paul goes through his slides. You can see there where I put the tipster for U.S. fraud and abuse tip. Sorry, excuse me. And then also I added there in a link in from Nursing Journal
Mm-hmm.
the mandatory overtime rules per state. So
Yeah.
each state, this is very different when you're from where you're coming from. Like Philippines, it's just one Philippine labor law. But in the United States, there are laws per state. There is federal law and there are also state laws. So majority of the time, the federal law will set the standard, and the state law will have to follow or make it better. As far as I know, that's how they do it. Again, the state laws are different from each state, so you will have to check what is the mandatory law in your state. So, for
Right.
example, where I come from, and this is always happening. I've been mandated to come to work. I mean, to extend my job, but I told them I cannot do this because I have family obligation. I need to pick up my kids. The daycare will close at 5 o'clock. If I will not be able to pick up my kids at 5 o'clock, the daycare has the right to put that kid in the police station.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So then I will be called for abandoning my kids. All right. So I said, I cannot stay. I'm sorry. I cannot do this because I have to pick up my kids. And then the manager will say, or supervisor says, we have no other nurses to cover you. Okay. Show
But the
me proof.
supervisor is a nurse.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. If that's so, if that state says no mandatory overtime at all, period, the supervisor has to take my patients. Okay. But if that mandatory overtime in that state will say you cannot leave your patient, and the management has to show proof that they really tried their best to look for new for somebody to relieve you. Okay, now tell me, show me that you posted this job, or you show me evidences that you really have called other nurses.
Right.
Right now there's a lot of technology out there that will be able to you'll be able to find nurses to cover.
Right.
I don't want to name companies, but we're not paid to do that, to advertise them. But there are a lot of per diem apps or website or staffing companies who do per diem, and that supervisor should do all their best to make sure that they contact those staffing companies who do per diem to give
Right.
that job to offer. But they cannot just say, "Oh, nobody's coming to relieve you." But then that supervisor or that staffing person did not really attempt to find someone. But because
Right.
they know that you are the cheapest paying employee of this place, imagine your salary is very low. So it means your overtime rate is very low. Whereas if they hire a local nurse,
Right.
the salary of that nurse will be here, and then if that's premium per diem, then it's going to be a little bit higher. So a
Right.
lot of these things are happening currently
Mhm.
among foreign nurses, that they're being told, we cannot find anybody to cover you. Okay,
Right.
there is
Okay.
truth to that, and there is
Yes,
also not
I
truth
have
to that.
something to say that my training is ER, so we move a little differently. But I've stayed in hospitals where my supervisor would definitely jump in if they have to. They're
Yeah,
all wear scrubs, even my directors. These are the hospitals that I really admire. Because you know what? If they tell me there's no nurse, then what are you? You're practicing under your RN license. Take that mantle off, take
yeah,
your suit off, and put in
yeah,
that scrub and go start
yeah,
doing patient care. Because that's exactly what it is for. We're
yeah,
a team here. You were telling me that I need to help. Well, you need to help as well, right? So
yeah,
I had the opportunity to work with some of the best supervisors and directors in my full time job. Angie, Mel, David, Teresa, Jackie. These are all supervisors and directors, but in a heartbeat, if we're short, they're gonna take off all their cute suits, right? They're gonna jump in and help us because that's how it should be.
mm,
These are all RNs too. But unfortunately, some people feel like I'm way past bedside. Well, you don't really have to take care of the patient, but there are other things that you can help with as well. But you know what I mean. So that makes for a toxic workplace, Kay, for me. If they force you to do that, if they do it once, I think they're gonna do it again. And it's just gonna be an endless fight of no, this is my right, no, this is my right. If that's happening, then maybe the culture of the workplace is actually toxic. You do not want to be
yeah,
subjected in an unsafe environment as well, to where
mhm,
you're always compromised and you're always going to be liable for something. I'd step out from that type of
yeah,
culture, right?
yep.
There are hospitals that have toxic culture just because they are already used to that, and unfortunately, that's just how it is. So move on. Let's just move on, because if they did it once, for me, they're gonna do it again.
I recommend our foreign workforce or any travel nurses. If you know you're going to this specific state, I recommend you before you're starting that job, know the law for overtime, mandatory overtime, because you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be looking for law when you are in that situation already. So you want to look at just before you actually start that. Know, I always call this know your troubleshooting book here, know your troubleshooting
Yeah.
guide. What are you in your troubleshooting guide? You know, I mean, it should be on a little cheat sheet. When before you start your job, what is the emergency code? What's the code number? And then you put there in the bottom too, of course. Who do you call if you're being mandated or subjected to this illegal? If you feel like they're illegal, the first thing you do is reach out to a lawyer. Okay, there's a lot of free resources. You can also reach out to your board of nursing, the state nurses association in that location. You can also reach out to the union, labor unions in that state, and ask them before you start. Okay, before,
Right,
not
right.
after you start and you're in that in situation. I want to go home, and that's the time you're gonna look for information. You won't have time to look for right information. You're gonna just rely on whatever the supervisor is telling you. Correct? So I recommend you to stand up on your own, but you should not leave those patients alone. If you don't know the law, you should never ever leave those patients. You cannot just say, I'm not doing this overtime. You
Yeah,
know,
that's true.
Jojo put there in the comment, what are you going to do? But if there's no and nurse to endorse to, what are my options? Well, the first thing first, like I said, if you're in the state that mandatory overtime is illegal, supervisor has to get that patient. Okay? If that supervisor refusing to take your patient, I would definitely call Department of Labor. Right now, if I were you, I will have again that speed dial or that person that you can reach out for that, or call the director of that facility. I would call the director. So again, you can go the ladder first, okay? Talk to the supervisor. If the supervisor say no, go to the person higher than the supervisor. Up the ladder first. And then go to the facility administrator. Now you get, if you're not getting the right answer and you feel like this is illegal that what they're doing to you, that's the time you get your lawyer to speak up. And there's a lot of lawyer. If I'm gonna tell you where I find lawyer right away to respond, I'd go to thumbtack.com. It's quick. They respond quick there. I was able to
Yeah.
get a lawyer. Somebody was threatening me something, very maliciously, trying to extort money from us. It was like a New Year's Eve. All right. I said, this guy was really a dish bag. Why would you
Mm-hmm.
do this on January 31st? No, January 31st, when, everybody's on holiday vacation. And you
Right.
send a message at 8 p.m. where everybody's already,
They're trying to frame
everybody,
you.
yeah, exactly. So what I did, I went to thumbtack.com. Somebody responded to me right away. All right, this is your professional fee. Can you handle that?
Right, right.
Yeah. So
And
if you get in that situation, um, again, ladder first, ladder of leadership, and then if you still can't do it, call the labor lawyer.
right. And with me, um, I also, if we can use this as a banner to our moderator, you guys can probably seek a lawyer here. All right. It's called upcounsel.com. Think of it as Airbnb, or what you call that, for lawyers. All right. So you open the app, you create a login, you put in your case, you select what specific case, and lawyers will reach out to you if they can take
Yep.
your case. Sometimes you just need a letter. Can we flush that as a banner? Upcounsel.com. Thank you. So upcounsel.com. All right. I use them for something private, personal matter, but sometimes you only need a letter. It's probably just $100. You tell them what you need. They're gonna put that letter in. They're gonna say, "I'm representing this nurse. I'm representing this person, and this is what we want to do, or this is what we want to communicate with you." And sometimes when lawyers get involved, organizations are very, very particular about that. They would not mess with you because they have to consult their legal team as well. All right, because they don't want to be sued for, like what I said, for illegal labor violations, for Medicare violations, for safety violations, because those feds are going to get after them, those agencies are going to get after them. So yep, make sure you know your rights. Raymond said, Raymond is one of my students, and he just passed the NCLEX recently. Congratulations, Raymond, and please prepare for your American dream. Watch all the 17 episodes of the DNP Unlocked. And tell your friends about it. Is it paid when they call in for a meeting? Yes, everything that's work related, they're paid. So if they ask you to be in a meeting, you clock in and then you clock out after, of course. They can also sue you if they think you're wage theft, which means you're changing your time. Like you're clocking in when you're not yet there. So just be very careful with that. There's rules, all right? But also, for example, they ask you to do certain things like, oh, can you complete this course? Because we have a lot of courses, right, that we do online. Guys, don't do it at your home, all right? If they say do it at your home while you're off, the first thing I ask is this going to get paid? And how many hours is allocated for that? And they say it's not going to get paid. You know what? I'm going to do it in the facility, all right? I'm going to use a computer there. I'm going to clock it because that's my education hours. Do not let them make you do things at home that's work related so they don't have to pay for it. Everything that's work related here has to be paid, even if you're just attending a meeting. Your director asks you to come in because they need to talk to you. You clock in, okay? That's for everything.
All
And
right,
you
so
need to
I'm
get
putting
paid.
here, Paul, a note for everyone. Sorry to break you. I'm putting a website for everyone for online modules and training. This is a Department of Labor. I want you to guys save this in your Safari, save this in your web browser, save this in your notes, okay? And why is this very important? Because if your employer is telling you you have to do this module training, the first thing you ask, is this mandatory? If they say yes, the next thing you ask, is this job related to my work? Do I need to finish this to be able to work? And they say yes. Okay, is this spent, outside? If I already work 40 hours and they want me to do this too again, is it done outside my training or my work hours? And if the answer is yes, and then is it voluntary, or mandated? It's mandatory, it's job related, you have to set aside yourself to do this, and it's outside your normal working hours. If you meet that four criteria, look in this website, send that link to that recruiter or to that employer. Okay, it always works 100%. 100% of them it said, okay, you're gonna have to do this modules, all of this. If you're here in the United States, you are covered by that. But if this is done, you're not an employee yet, you haven't been arriving here in the United States, and they told you to do that mandatory, who's telling you to do it? Your employer? I'm going to ask you, is that the real employer yet? Is that employer? Because majority of them probably are on contingent employment.
Mhm,
So if it's really related to your actual work, let's say what do you call this one? The IV pump. These are your
mhm.
training modules for IV
Alaris,
pump.
Alaris pump.
Yeah, Alaris pump. If it is your training about your catheter cleaning, where your catheter site, those are nursing specific. And if
Mhm,
it's really, it specifies like a training that's specific to that facility, that this is the only place that they will do this kind of procedure, policy and procedure. But this is not applicable in other places because they do this differently. Like say how to document your specimen. If they're training you specific to that facility, that is called an employer specific training that you need to be paid. Okay.
mhm.
But let's say ACLS training, BLS training, these are the training that you will need it to apply in other places. You can use it
That's
in general.
that's
Then no,
qualifications to get the job. Yep.
exactly. That's a qualification. If you are being mandated to train about human trafficking, or like those state-specific requirement, then you're
Mhm,
not allowed to be paid for that either.
mhm,
But when
mhm,
how to identify this, usually the slides, there's a specific hospital that's saying that. Okay, so
mhm,
Other things that you probably will have to sign online modules are your HR modules, which is
Mm-hmm.
your, oh, they're telling me
Onboarding.
to
Yeah.
onboarding for your hospital. They're not paid. What are they? HR materials. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If they're gonna
Company
make you,
policy.
yeah, policy and procedure,
Mm-hmm.
HR, like your payroll, what,
Payroll. What to
yep,
wear.
yep. So those are not really specific. Fit
Mm.
testing, you have to do your fit testing and they're giving you instruction how to do it.
Right, right.
Those are not specifically paid, but I'm telling you,
Yeah.
those specific epic training on that facility, how to document, that is paid. Okay,
That is
so
paid. That's
yeah,
paid.
so
Because it's
you
a
you
different
have to
EHR
know.
everywhere.
Yeah, so you have to know how to identify those things. So again, if your recruiter is telling you things that you're not paid, please check on that website that I put there and then send it to them. Every
Right.
time that I send it to that recruiter, it's a
Mm-hmm.
magic. My
Right.
orientation becomes paid now.
Right.
I'm like,
It has to be paid. Like for us here, we have so many modules. Every time this is the cumbersome part with travel nursing as an ER. Because like one hospital here in Houston, we have 65 modules. We have 65 modules for just being an ER nurse. That includes all the policies. Some other facilities, 40 modules. And some modules can be 4 hours long, okay? Because this is ER. We're talking
yeah,
about EMTALA violations, and not only that, the skills, because we have special gadgets that we only use depending on what some years of specialty to. Are we cardiac specialty? Are we trauma specialty, right? Are we stroke? Are we all of them? So those are lots of trainings. Those are paid. The good thing with ER is we get paid for that because we always say, I need I need to do this training in order to deliver my job safely, so that needs to get paid. There's no argument about that. Now, if they're just giving me, say, for example, aptitude test or skills test, there's sometimes there's quizzes
yeah,
of how you read basic EKGs. That's not paid because they're pre-qualifying you for the
yeah,
job. But if they tell me, can you read the module of how we collect blood culture? I know how to do blood culture, but each facility have their own timing, who to do it, who's responsible to document it, how many nurses would sign. That part I don't know. So that
yeah,
should be paid, right? Because I know how to do it, but I need to review your policy. I would gladly do it, but you're gonna have to pay my time. And for the most part, they should. But again, if you are an immigrant nurse, you are again in a desperate situation because you want the American dream to happen so bad so you can start posting those TikTok videos and be a content creator so you can retire early. I know the feeling, but guys, whenever you're desperate like this, it puts you again in a situation where you can easily be manipulated. I've
yeah,
heard of immigrant nurses going through this training, getting
yeah,
state mandated minimum. Are you talking to me that you're going to pay me $7 an hour to go through
yeah,
training as a nurse? When I'm sitting there and listening to your lecture, I'm still a nurse, right?
yeah,
I'm still doing
yeah,
my professional job because you're trying to improve my skill or preventing me from making a mistake. I'm using my critical thinking as a nurse. You're paying me $7 an hour, which is housekeepers are getting paid more. I was just in a conversation in the group with recently. No, we're getting paid state minimum. We're talking about 15 an hour. Are you serious? Because I'm never gonna get paid 15 an hour to sit for training. Even if you feel like, no, I'm not doing anything anyway. I'm just sitting there. Hey, excuse me,
yeah,
you're absorbing all this information that you need for the job. You need those critical things. You need to have those information. You're still working as a nurse. They're teaching you nursing stuff. So please advocate for yourselves and agencies who are doing this. I know who you are. We're gonna have a conversation soon. Because why are you doing this? I understand you need to train nurses, but I also think that it needs to be in a very fair
yeah,
manner. Like, they still need to get paid. These nurses come into the U.S. as an immigrant. They probably have thousands of dollars in debt already just to get here. For your information, nurses that are coming here to the U.S. As an immigrant are not usually from rich countries. Okay, these are nurses that are in countries that are called developing, and they really need this money. They probably are thousands of dollars in debt just to get here. So please do not take advantage of these nurses. Please do not pay them state minimum to undergo these training. I've never heard of that. I've been hearing about that recently. I still don't agree with that. The intention might be correct, but I don't think it's fair for our nurses, Kay.
Absolutely. So if you are not sure if you have the right thing right for this wages that you're not being paid, simple Google search it. It doesn't really
I'm
only
gonna
happen in your
I'm gonna get in trouble. Agency name drop. I cannot, Emmy, because you know what? They can sue me for naming them. No, I wish I could. I really honestly would. But pay attention when you start agency shopping. You'll remember what I say, and you'll
yeah,
be
and
like, "Oh, got it."
and I just wanna
Yeah,
say
Miss
this.
Nikki.
There's a lot of people who jump into staffing companies without having really background in staffing companies. But again, they just saw that there was money being made during the pandemic. Everybody was just what do you call this one? Jumping, starting their staffing company without understanding really how to do it properly or ethically. So it's not that sometimes that this company are telling you you're not going to be paid. Sometimes these companies are ignorant of the law too. It's not that
Right.
they're not
You're
intending
probably
to pay
violating.
you,
Yeah.
they don't know that they're violating.
Yeah.
But that's not your fault. You
Right.
know, that's your risk for running a
Ignorance of the
business.
law is no excuse.
Absolutely. And they're saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, we did not know that. We just
Right.
consulted our legal team and they said that we will pay you from that back pay."
Right.
So it's not your fault that they're running a business incompetently. You
Yeah.
are
Right.
performing your job as a nurse competently. It's not your
Right.
business to
Mm-hmm.
tell them what is the right thing to do. That's a
That is
responsibility
their
as a
problem. Yeah.
business owner to know
Mm-hmm.
what are their legal things that they should be doing as an
Yeah.
employer. Okay,
Yeah.
and you cannot tell me I did not know. There's a lot of information online,
Right.
especially SBA, Small Business,
Yeah.
Administration.
Right.
There's a lot of information. You should hire your own lawyer to tell you
Yeah.
that. If you
I'll give you an example to that, Kay. Like there were these agencies where we travel nurse a lot, so each agency is different, right? There were nurses that were not paid one day on a Friday when it's supposed to hit, right? And the agency's like, we're gonna process it on Monday. State law,
uh,
federal laws, you need to get paid on the same day. They're gonna cut you a check, meaning they
before
have to issue
hours.
you a check that day. All right. The business hour could not end without your pay. That's a rule. But of course, some of them probably don't know it, don't want to know about it, trying to be ignorant and say, we're going to do it on Monday because probably HR doesn't want to get bothered. Well, you can pull your Uno card, reverse Uno card. Hold on. This is a state rule. Reverse Uno for you. I need that check today. It's not because I need the money or it's not because I don't have money or the point is that is the state rule. You have to abide by it. If you don't know it, then I'm
Yeah.
letting you know. And trust me,
eh,
when you pull that card, guys, your check is gonna you're gonna pick it up within 30 minutes. All right. They don't want to mess with the state either. So know your rights, okay? Because that
And
happens for normal nurses here. What about
yeah,
immigrant nurses?
exactly. So they take advantage of immigrant nurses because you know nothing. You don't
Yeah,
know any
you know
better. So
exactly.
for me,
That's yeah,
if I was the immigrant nurse coming here and you're not paying me according to the time, according to my contract, and I don't like this working situation, the first thing that I will do, get my lawyer right now.
right, right.
Why?
Get,
Because it
mhm,
can be a potential case of breach of contract. Breach of
right.
contract is not only nurses who are breaching the contract. An
Your
employer
employer
can
too.
breach of contract if
Right,
they are not following what is telling what is being on the contract. If they are saying that they will follow federal law, state law, and they're not
right,
following,
right,
talk to a contract lawyer ASAP. And then there are a
right,
lot of nurses saying to me, okay, my employer is not paying me my overtime. My employer is not paying me on time. They said they're gonna pay me next week. It's always been a battle. Trust me. Please choose your battles wisely. This
right,
battle might be a good battle to have. You might just have to pay your labor lawyer because if that employer is really breaching your contract and you have termination clauses there with tons of money that you will have to pay them back if you quit. But what if it's not your fault? They're not following what is the contract saying. Talk to
Right.
your lawyer, because a lot of these nurses come to me. I will just pay, the termination fee because this is ridiculous. I'm not getting paid. Wait a minute. Why are you
The
planning
other
to pay
side.
the termination fee? Oh,
Right.
because I want to leave this job anymore. They're not paying me. Okay, if they're not paying you, they're breaching your contract. They're not following your contract. So
Right.
why are you paying again?
Right. Right.
Oh, I just want peace of mind.
Right.
You want peace of mind? Give me that money and I'll help you find a
Right.
lawyer. you
Exactly.
me. You know, you want peace of mind? I'll give you spa bonuses,
Yeah.
right? I'll give you a red carpet. I'll give you a driver every day. If you want peace of mind, I'm gonna pamper you. I'm gonna be your concierge service to calm you down. Pay me, I don't mind. You know,
Right. And some people are scared to talk because they feel like it's going to waste their time. They feel like it's a lot of work. But think about it. If you don't report them and you don't want to really take action to report them, they're going to do it again to another person that's probably in a much worse situation than you. So please do us a favor, right? Me and Kay cannot report for you. We're not the one that has been violated. Trust me, if it was me or Kay, they would have been in CNN by now, to all the social media channels. We will be talking about it nonstop until somebody listens. But the point is, we are not the one violated. We can only go as far as telling you, you know what, contact this agency. You know what, contact this lawyer. You know what, get this lawyer in. But um, we are not the one violated, so we don't have a case against them. Please speak
yeah,
up. Please do your jobs as prudent nurse to also protect yourself and also for the people following after you. It's the apathy and complacency that gets the healthcare worker, the professionals in trouble because sometimes we're like, nah, there's an even bigger battle to fight for. Nah, I'm just gonna use my energy to take care of my patients. But this is how abuse becomes rampant, and this is not just rampant abuse. It's a direct violation of laws, but because of the apathy of people involved, nobody seems to care, right? So
yeah.
it's a very
And they said,
complex
yeah,
situation. It's so chaotic that nobody wants to get involved because nobody's reporting. Nobody reports, nothing will be
yeah,
done. So that's why we're empowering you guys. The power is on your end. You're a nurse. Even if you sue this company, there's another hospital that will willingly take you in a heartbeat. There's a severe shortage of nurses here. So don't be scared that you're going to lose a job. You will find a job.
absolutely. And many of them, since you're here.
Travel nursing.
Right? So, and a lot of people are very scared to speak up. But always remember this: if we don't correct this right now, if we're gonna let you guys shut up, and we are enabling this exploitation that's happening, and who's going to be the end victim of this is the patients.
Right.
And then who are
Exactly.
those patients? It can be one day your mom, it can be one day your child, it can be one day your loved ones there. Like I mentioned,
Exactly. It could be you yourself.
Congressman Bernice Johnson, you know, it can be her. It was her, right? If we
Mhm.
don't speak up out, if we are too scared that we don't speak up for our patients, this will happen.
Right.
This will happen.
Kay,
It's going to be ridiculous.
whenever I escalate a situation to my director, or if my director doesn't listen, I escalate it further to the admin in-house, the house supervisor or HR. I always say in the first line, I think this is a safety risk. Guys, if you pull that reverse Uno card, trust me, they would pay attention right away. All right. Because remember, emails are evidence, right? That can be used against them in the court. If you've already reported a safety violation, a safety risk, a patient safety issue to your labor or whatever, they would honestly pay attention. It's all about using keywords, right? So
Mhm.
when you have an email to them, before recounting the whole information, summarize it in the first line because sometimes they only read the first line, right? I think there's a safety violation. I think there's a patient privacy concern here, right? I think there's a safe harbor issue because in Texas we have safe harbor. We can refuse assignments if it's going to put us at risk for safety issues for me and my patient. So I always use those keywords if I think there's a fraud here. I think there's a forgery. I think there's a EMTALA violation in this situation, and then I recount the situation. Whenever you use those words that are in your compliance training that they never want to happen, those violation, because you are going to do your compliance training where the federal rules that we're talking about are going to be discussed as well. They would pay attention, so something like that. But advocate for yourself. And also, whenever you report these employers, you're not only doing yourself a favor, you're doing the nursing community a favor. And like Kay said, it trickles back to the community and the patients. Because think about it, if they're violating you, you're already in a position of power in a sense because you're a nurse and they're paying you this much to do
Yes.
your job. What about the poor patients that are there sick on the bed, cannot advocate for themselves, families not around, families not taking good care of them? Do you think they're also getting violated? I think so too. So that's my concern. If I could not fulfill my job to provide quality care as a nurse, it trickles down to my patients. If I'm an ER nurse and you're giving me 8 patients and 2 of them are intubated, I feel bad for the others that are not intubated because they're not going to be taking good care of me. And that's not even my fault. That's the fault of, it's a staffing issue, it's a management issue, right? So I'll talk
Yes.
to my management. You're not only doing me a what's this, you're not only doing me a favor by giving me correct ratio, you're also doing this patient a favor because they deserve quality care. They're there in the bed for a reason. They're not going to be in that bed if it's not an emergency situation, something like that. And whenever I say like this, talk like this, they pay attention clearly. Sometimes my managers would pick up. I was like, I don't need you to take care of all my stuff. I just need you to take care of my patients that I couldn't take care of because I'm prioritizing things. So please be advocate of your own selves. All right. It will also protect you and your licenses. Document these things, right, Kay? Put it in email, right? Debrief, right? What happened today after my shift? I want to recount and I want to report to you. That's an instance that you wanna preserve. And also, like what Kay said before, and I'm gonna say this to you as well, expert tip. CC your personal email in your work email because if they shut down your work email, well, all the evidence are down the trash. So CC your I think of my personal email as my backup drive. Everything that I want to preserve there. I mean, my oldest Yahoo mail, okay, has been there with me since
Yeah.
2002 at the dawn of Yahoo age, right? Way before Google search and way before
Before
Gmail.
email.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can still see my emails from college, but that's like my backup drive, right? I
Eh,
see it there, all right? As long as I'm not um divulging exact patient information, name of patient, or I just say situation that I was made aware of. As long as I'm not divulging EMTALA or HIPAA violation, or I'm not violating that, then
yeah.
that should be safe in my email. All
Yeah.
right, something like that. But yeah, or if you think it's a HIPAA violation, you preserve it as evidence. You print it out and make sure you safe keep it because they might take it against you as well. All right, or
Okay.
probably send it to your lawyer because lawyers can also preserve that documentation. But
Yep.
that's it. Be advocate of yourselves.
So I'm gonna share your screen. Thanks for that, Paul. That we're not going against our employers, but if employer is ethical, they would side you. They will listen to you. But then again, if your employer is not telling you to do what is ethical and morally right, then
Mm-hmm.
your employer is not with you. Okay. So you
Yeah.
have to identify, we're not here to say that, our employers are bad. They're the bad guy. We're just saying to you, there are things that you should be doing as professional nurses. And there are things that you should be doing that is expected of you, again, as a licensed professional in the United
Yeah.
States. You are not here to fight your employer. You bring business to your employer. The employer brings business to you to provide you salary that will feed for your family and your needs. So this is a two-way scenario. It's not one way that the employer is giving you benefits only. I mean, you're only the one who's getting benefit. They're getting benefit from your labor too. Okay, so Just a brush up, quick slide that I'm gonna share to you. Well, Paul discussed a lot of things earlier on his slide. I would like to discuss some more that that might be very needed. So let's bring it up. Okay, fraud and abuse tip form. You can screenshot this uscis.gov report fraud and backslash uscis dash tip dot form. This is a place where you want to submit your complaints as well. There's also U.S. Department of Justice. What is this called? Executive Office for Immigration Review, EOIR. If you have like fraud immigration scams, or somebody is like presenting themselves as headhunters or a person who has jobs in United States, or they're gonna tell you things about immigration law, they're gonna tell you we're gonna sponsor you, we're gonna do this and do that, do this, you're gonna have to pay us money to do that for you. I recommend you to, if that doesn't sound right to you, that they're making you pay ahead for being recruited, this is the number that you want to call to report those things. Okay, immigration scams. If you've heard about diploma scams, we have immigration scams as well. I mean, diploma mill. Diploma mill is what happened in Florida. You know, a school was shut down because they were just producing, RN diplomas and without proper training, without going through the proper way of educating people. So if there are diploma mills, there are immigration mills as well. So if you feel like that employer or that person is telling you, or that immigration lawyer is telling you, oh, don't worry, we're going to get you here, just pay us this amount of money, don't worry about your job, your goal is just to get here, please report that to that fraud website and or call them. US, again, under the US Department of Justice, if you have lawyers that are telling you to pay them a lot of money for you to come here, it might be, again, an issue of immigration scam. Any employer telling you to pay for everything to come here, that's a red flag already. So please, this is the website, this is the email where you can report that. You can screenshot that page. What are the example? These are example that is taken from the justice.gov. Attorney discipline program. Another example, they're charging a grossly excessive fee. If they're saying their legal fee is $40,000 for you to come here to the United States, that's very red flag. Okay, they're gonna tell you we're gonna look for an employer. You have to pay us 40,000. That is something that, if a lawyer is telling you that, an immigration lawyer is telling you that, like us nurses, we can be reported for our board of nursing. Again, if there is an immigration lawyer telling you that you have to pay 40,000 for them to look for employment for you, that is a red flag. Engaging in bribery or coercion, and they're saying you have to sign this. If you arrive in the United States and they give you a different contract to sign, that lawyer is telling you you have to sign this or we're going to deport you, which is a contract that's very, very different from what you signed initially. You have the right to report that. Don't be scared. There are good nurses, there are bad nurses, there are good doctors, there are bad doctors. There are also good lawyers and bad lawyers. So please maintain the integrity of this immigration system by helping our United States government by reporting this. Knowingly, recklessly disregard making false statement or wrong information, deceiving. Please, if you have been told false information and you have evidences of that, you can call this things as well. I mean, this justice.gov, the U.S. Department of Justice, soliciting professional employment. This might not necessarily mean that it is illegal to work with different companies. Our immigration lawyers are working together with agencies and different employers. So that's it's normal to happen. But if they are really saying, "Oh, you have to come to me, you have to come to me, and you have to pay me a huge amount of money," again, for you to come here, and I'm gonna look for your employer. Well, that employer is acting as a recruitment services now. Okay, so if you have questions, you can always reach out to the U.S. Department of Justice if you feel like there is a question, if you want to verify the situation to them. I am not a lawyer. I'm not representative of the U.S. Department of Justice, but these are all public information that I'm giving to you at your fingertips, so you can check it out. I put there the website where I find it. It's www.justice.gov. Um, so anything that is wrong or lie that you know that is a lie, you guys are nurses. You guys have critical thinking. You should know where to do. This is another one. U.S. Federal Trade Commission. If a business
FTC.
FTC has the right and authority if a company or an employer is actually involving themselves in unfair business practice, deception, and an anti-competitive. They're saying to you that you cannot, if you belong on those minimum wages, and then they're telling you to that you cannot work somewhere else. This poll is very important because I have heard a lot of nurses come here. They said we have 1 to 3 months training, and our training is not paid based from what our salary is. They're only giving us small amount of money, which they said
Seven
that,
an hour, 15
right?
an hour.
If you are 15 an hour, it means that you are falling under minimum, right? Minimum
Right.
salary.
But their job offer says 30 an hour. I
Y-
mean, what is
Yeah,
that?
so this is something that you might want to say. Your train, if your contract did not mention anything about your training salary, then you should be entitled for that salary, what's indicated on that contract, because that contract clearly states you are going to training and means that is the salary, right? So, but if not stipulated in your contract that your training is going to be paid this, I recommend you guys call a lawyer to review it or go to United States Federal Trade Commission, because if your salary is not being given according to what is in the contract, regardless if it's a training, you need to verify if those are legitimate activities. Okay. Um, where to report U.S. Federal Trade Commission. There's a website for that, and then you just guys go to their website, and there's a link there. Job placement service scams is under Federal Trade Commission too. Okay, and it's saying here if you met someone making you pay ahead of time for recruitment fees, please report them. And then how to report. This is the best question, no? Because a lot of nurses, they don't know how to report, and it's full of like feelings. I recommend you please start with a problem. It's like S-bar, situation, background, assessment, and
Mhm.
recommendation, right?
You can do it, nurses. You're good with documenting.
Yeah, so start with the problem. What's going on? What's the situation right now? And you say to them, my company has withhold my green card, and then stay as objective as it can be. Don't you don't put a lot of subjective, like, I felt like, guys, were objective and subjective. This is your signs and
Yeah.
symptoms. So provide evidences, narrate with a timeline if possible, and write a brief note what you want to accomplish from this reporting. Example, I'm reporting this so nobody will be victimized by this company anymore. Okay? Or, again, Paul discussed to you Department of Labor. And this is another thing. If you feel like you are involved in forced labor, I want you to call the Human Trafficking Homeland Security. If you're a new immigrant in the United States, and again, you were went you're feeling you're in the situation of forced labor information are there in their website. I put the source, take a picture of that, screenshot, and then you can check what are the signs and symptoms of forced labor. Please call these numbers. Okay, there's what do you call this one? There's a program called Blue Campaign, which is human trafficking program by the United States of government. So please look into those website and resources. Again,
Yep.
we're not here to go against our employers, our sponsors,
Mhm.
and employers. We're
No,
not here either to get a go against you. We're not promoting going against you either.
right.
However, we as employees, we come into this contract coming with a full ethical and professional that we expect you to do proper business with us too.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So
Exactly. And there are not all of the organizations or hospitals are bad players. Some facilities are actually taking good care of their immigrants, making sure that they,
yeah,
um, get accustomed and get integrated well to the community, to the workplace. And those are the facilities that we really admire for taking good care of our immigrant nurses. But yeah, just be on the lookout, guys. What we keep saying is be advocate of yourselves. Emmy said your knowledge is a power no one can bully, abuse, or take advantage of. And Raymond is what is wrong is wrong. Veracity is the key. We need to be advocates of ourselves first before we can be for others. And for that, guys, I give you a 9.0 for writing. Highest score for IELTS. But no, that's true. Nobody would advocate for you other than you. And knowledge is power. Right? We keep saying that. But yes, know the rules, know the laws, know the regulations that protect you as a worker, and whatever affects you to provide quality care for patients and the community, that may be a violation. So start looking, start searching, start asking for lawyers that might expedite your research versus looking out for Google. It's kind of like if you're sick, you want to Google first or you want to ask a provider, right? So go ask a provider. That may cut down the time for you looking for conditions that you probably don't have. But yeah, seek the help of experts.
Yeah, so I'd like to share my final screen with you guys. If you feel like you are being not being, but you're being violated, you're not alone. I'm gonna tell you, you guys are not alone. This has been happening. It's just a matter of reporting it. So if you guys can see my screen, if you just Google this, nurse violation of FLSA Fair Labor Standard Act, and you will see there is a lot of lawsuits there about employers not paying properly their employees. Again, this is not just happening to you. Okay, 64 in Mississippi nursing home care workers, right? And there is actually 61 caregivers in Sarasota. There's so many. 25 nursing homes, right? 70 nurses. I think there was one, this one, 600 skilled nursing workers. So you guys are not alone. And this is not uncommon to the United States Department of Labor. That's why that division has been made, because there was so many complaints. They know that there's a lot of people or employers who doesn't pay. There's a lot of good employers too. But I'm gonna tell you, I feel like, Paul, I'm sorry to say this, but I feel like there's way far more bad players out there than the good ones. Okay, so I that's my observation. If especially
I
when that
didn't
company.
realize I was on mute. Yeah, but I agree with that because, like I said, nursing is being commoditized.
Yeah, because staffing, a lot of staffing companies are small and probably they don't have enough money to pay a very good lawyer to explain or to defend them either, or they don't have enough legal resources. So those are common because your staffing company doesn't mean you're bad. But some, I'm just saying, I have experienced a lot of staffing company. I've worked with more than 40 and 40 agencies out there. And I can tell you, 1 out of 10 only was able to give me flawless information. 9 out of 10 recruiter gave me false information. And I have
Right.
been audited by the IRS for being given wrong information too
Mm-hmm.
by a recruiter. Okay, there's a lot of recruiter who are not really in healthcare. They just jump to there. Some of them are have no background at all with healthcare professionals. Some of them are even college level. I know some agency who hired college level recruiters. Okay? So if you're gonna tell me, should I really believe everything that they say, even it's violating the law? The answer is no. Always advocate for yourself. Okay? So anyway, let's wrap up. Paul, next topic for next
Yep,
week.
that was a fun talk, and we love talking about that. We can do shows all the time about fraud and all that. But guys, kindly watch our past shows. It's uploaded in my YouTube. It's in our Facebook channel. But this February, we're gonna be having very interesting topics. Really, let's show our calendar first. Next. Episode 18 is going to be about workplace violence and how to prevent that, strategies and how to avoid that, and how to report that. And that includes bullying in workplace. And February 11, episode 19 will be about budgeting for immigrants. And episode 20 on February 18, legal documentation. episode 21, and February 25, essential skills for immigrants. So mark your calendars every Sunday, 8 a.m. Central Time. We'll be going live. We would love to have you guys live with us so you can interact with us during live shows in our open forums. You can ask questions and participate, share your stories as well. And again, next week, episode 18 will be about workplace violence. We're going to see you guys. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Anna. We miss you. Thank you guys for
Anna,
joining
feel
our show
better.
today.
Thank you, Paul. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and
Have a
stay
nice
warm.
weekend.
Bye.